Hey there, Larry Stein, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service with you again. Happy New Year, 2022, how can it be? Seems like 2021 just flew by and here we are in 2022. So Happy New Year, welcome. We hope you'll join us each month as we feature several things on Aggie Horticulture Facebook Live. We're going to introduce you to our garden checklist today. Different tasks that we can be doing in January. Obviously, January is the cold time of the year, supposedly. Although recently it's been warm, but one of the things that we're facing with in several parts of the state right now is drought. It's getting dry. And so one of the things you want to keep in mind is water. Water is ultra critical this month. Not necessarily every week, but every 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, you want to have water to your plants so that when it gets cold, they will be able to tolerate the cold. I mean, basically cold desiccates plants, sucks the moisture out, so to speak. And so you want to have them well hydrated before the freeze comes in. And so don't forget about water. A lot of people think, well, everything's dormant, I don't need to worry about water. But realize plants need water when they're dormant. And so we think you ought to water about every 4 to 6 weeks. That way, when you get a cold spell, your plants will be able to tolerate it. Now, some of us experienced our first really hard freeze recently in the last few days. And so you see these plants that have frozen back. Obviously, we tell you to like ugly for a while. Don't get in a big hurry. Realize that all this foliage up here on top is going to protect the crown down here at the base. If you look way down here at the base, we have green tissue. And so the plants have survived. These are hardy perennial plants. And so even though this looks ugly right now, I would encourage you to wait a little bit because this offers you protection from future cold events. Now some of you have what we call annuals that you protected during the cold. And so you see this is a begonia plant right here. And so this is tissue that froze. And so you can come in here right now and either break this stuff off, cut it off, and it will regrow. See, the bottom part of the plant is just fine. And so on these annuals that you're carrying over, I would encourage you to cut them back, move them inside when it gets really cold, fertilize them again, and they will do just fine. So anyway, we have several people that have situations like that. A lot of us have started annuals to plant in the spring. Like these are petunias right here. Other people have started other things. In the very near future, in the next 4 to 6 weeks, you can start your warm season crops and get them up and growing. One of the things that we need to be doing this time of the year is fertilizing. You know, if you have cool season annuals like pansies, larkspur, snapdragons, things like that, you can be applying a slow release fertilizer. Something like 1959 is what we like to use. We're trying to get away from these complete fertilizers because plants use nutrients in a 3-1-2 ratio. So 1959 is a really good one. This is a slow release. See the 12 there? That's a 12-month release. And so things like pansies or whatever, you can sprinkle that on and that will really help them continue to bloom all winter long. One of the other things that it's time now for is planting trees, planting shrubs, bare root trees, bare root shrubs, bare root plants, fruit trees. And so we'll have an extended session on planting bare root plants, container plants later on this month. Probably the middle of the month is what we're looking at on doing that. I would also encourage you to get your seed coming if you have not already. I mean, the seed catalogs have come. And so if you have some special seed varieties that you're looking for, go ahead and get those coming so that you'll be ready for the spring. And so now would be prime time to do that on these cold winter days. Yeah, right. Today it's sunny and hot. So on those cold winter days when you're cooped up in the house, be checking out these garden catalogs and come up with the different things that you want to plant. Now is also prime time to be getting our beds ready for spring planting. So a lot of us have these leaves. And so I would encourage you to mulch those in. Some of you have planted Elbon rye as a trap crop for nematodes, and if you have that, you need to be sure that you mow that off. Now it's probably, if it's about this tall, go ahead and mow it off, and then rototill it into the ground and get that Elbon rye decaying so that you'd be ready to plant in the spring. And so I really encourage you to mulch leaves with your lawnmower, as well as get your spring beds ready to go. Use leaves, use compost, use mulch, and all of that will work quite well. Question is, where can you find a catalog? What I would do is go online and the different seed companies that are out there, like Johnny Select Seed. If you go to Johnny Select Seed, you can click on that and they will send you a catalog. This catalog that I have over here comes from Rupp, R-U-P-P. And so if you Google Rupp, another seed company is Stokes, and all these different seed companies are more than happy to send you a catalog. Most of them have them online as well. So either way you can go there.
And is that the best fertilizer you recommend?
So the question is about fertilizer. The best fertilizer is a slow release fertilizer is what we're looking at. Nutricoat, Osmocoat, very good selections. You can use other fertilizers. The ratio is what we like, the 3-1-2 ratio. We have a lot of phosphorus in our soil, and so if you add a lot of phosphorus, it just ties up the other stuff. And so that's why we go with the 3-1-2 ratio fertilizer. We typically like to make a single application of that, and future applications, like in the spring, we'll make with just nitrogen. Just nitrogen fertilizer is what we'll use. All right, so last tip we want to pass along today, I would encourage you to check out our full garden checklist. Obviously, we're not going to go over everything today, but the last thing is our holiday flowers that we've gotten, poinsettias. You know, a lot of us bought a beautiful poinsettia like this, and the big question is, well, what do I do with it? What do I do with it? How do I carry it over? And so I would encourage you to keep it in the house, keep it in a warm spot, keep it where it gets light, water it frequently. It needs water every 2 to 3 days, and it will maintain this color well into the winter. And then once the leaves start to drop or whatever, you cut these back, and you can carry them over and actually get them to bloom next year. So basically, this plant, this is what this plant looked like last year. And so basically what I did is I cut it back, I planted it up, grew it all summer, and these newer varieties, they typically don't need the dark light anymore in order to develop the red bracts, and so they'll do that on their own. And so even though it's not quite like this, obviously I'm not a poinsettia grower, but you can have a spectacular show again in the winter, around Christmas time, around the holiday time. So anyway, thank you for joining us today. Hope you'll join us the rest of the month. Typically we're here on Wednesdays and Fridays. We're going to add a Monday feature to our program as well. Again, if you got story ideas, things you want us to talk about, let us know. And until next time, this has been Larry Stein, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service.